Hello, second graders. Welcome to a little mini science lesson with me, Miss Taylor. I wanted to share part of a book with you. It's called What Will the Weather Be? And in this book, it gives a pretty good explanation of why we have weather and where most of our weather happens. And we're going to learn about something called fronts. So, our story is What Will the Weather Be? By Linda DeWitt, illustrated by Karen Krall. The sky was gray and cloudy over Washington, D.C. on the morning of March 9th, 1999. The weather forecast called for an inch or two of snow. Ooh, we got some snow the other day, didn't we? By noon, there was so much snow on the ground that many cars and buses were stuck in it. The airports had to close down. So did the schools. In all, 8 inches of snow fell on the city. The weather forecast was wrong, and people were not prepared for the huge storm. Does that happen to us in Minnesota? hmm Weather forecasts tell us what kind of weather is coming, but predicting the weather is hard to do. It's easy to see what the weather is like right now. You can go outside and look. Is the air warm or cold? Is it windy or still? Is the sky clear? Or is it covered with dark clouds? Whatever the weather is like, it often stays that way for days at a time. So it's pretty easy to tell what the weather's like right now. We can just go outside and look. But predicting the weather, thinking about what kind of a weather we're going to have, can be tricky. All right, here's where we get to learn about fronts. But then something happens. The wind begins to blow. And the wind is just a word for moving air. All right, so the wind begins to blow. Air from somewhere else moves in. Sometimes it's cooler air from the north. Sometimes it's warmer air from the south. The new air pushes against the old air. The place where this happens is called a front. Most changes in the weather occur along fronts. So in this picture, you can see that the new air, it's kind of like this big bubble or mass of new air. So I like to think of the air as kind of this big bubble, and it's kind of pushing, this new air is pushing in against the old air. So kind of like these big bubbles of air that are moving around the earth. And air is always moving, and that moving air is called wind. So where this new air pushes against the old air, where they meet is called a front. Where cold air pushes against warm air, we say there's a cold front. So here's our cold front coming in, that big mass or bubble of cold air. Cold fronts move fast. They can make the wind howl. They quickly push warm air up and out of the way. So as the cold air comes in and pushes against the warm air gets pushed up and out. Let's see. The rising air carries water. The water is not a liquid. It is a gas called water vapor. And we'll learn about that a little bit later. But you should know that in the air, there are little teeny tiny bits of water. And that is called water vapor. It's a gas. We can't see it. But I like to think of water vapor as little tiny, teeny tiny drops of water in the air that we can't see. As the air rises, it cools and the water vapor turns to liquid. High in the sky, the drops of liquid water clump together and make clouds. And I think I'm going to sort of skip over this page because it has to do with something else. But I wanted to just review quickly. So this idea of fronts. Fronts form when new air pushes against old air. So this is how it happens. So number one, the wind starts to blow and brings in this new air, kind of this new mass or new bubble of air. That air pushes against the old air. So it's like this new air coming in and it's pushing against the old air. And the place where this happens is called a front. And most changes in the weather occur along fronts. So if you watch the news on the weather with your parents, you may have seen or heard meteorologists, people who study weather, talking about, oh, we have a cold front moving in, or we have a warm front moving in. So a front is just a word that means where new air meets old air. All right, so that is the end of our lesson for today about fronts. And I believe Miss Schultz has a fun experiment for us about fronts. Have a wonderful day, scholars, and I will see you again soon. Bye.